Hello and welcome to the second NoCoCo tutorial for Adalo. Today we're gonna look at screens and various components on them and how to configure them. First though, a little primer on how to move around on the workspace. If you want to move the workspace, you can either do that with 2 fingers on the touchpad on Mac or by pressing down the spacebar and the left mouse button at the same time and then moving the mouse. So you can move around like this. To zoom in and out, you can use the pinching motion on the touchpad on Mac, or you can use the control or command key and the mouse wheel on Windows and Mac, or the control key and command key plus or minus on both systems. Now, if I move the mouse cursor over a component, you will see a yellow frame appear. If I click on it, the menu of the component I clicked on appears on the left. So this is a text component. If I click on the pencil icon, I can edit its name. If I click on the 3 vertical dots here, a very important menu appears that you will find in almost all components. You can change the visibility of the element here. By default it is set to always visible, but you can make that conditional, set it to sometimes visible, and then Adalo will ask you, will be visible if, and you could say, for example, if logged in user username is equal to, let's say, Stefan. That would make the text field be visible only to users whose username is Stefan. Or you could make it visible only to users whose username is not Stefan, or you could set it to contains and make it visible to all the users whose username contains the word Stefan. So a user called Stephanie would also see it. Let's set it back to always visible though and see what else we got here. Arrange allows you to arrange components that are stacked atop each other. You can either bring them to the front, send them to the back, or move them forward or backward in increments. You could make the element a list. That means it would become a list of a collection in the database. We're gonna look at that in more detail in a future tutorial. You could group it with other elements and you can delete it. You can also delete it just by selecting it and hitting backspace. And if you want to undo that, you can hit Control or Command and Z, and that will undo the last thing you did. In the text field here, you can change whatever the text field is supposed to say. So in our case, I will add a comma and a space, and now we will add magic text. That's a very neat feature. It allows you to put in text from a collection. So add magic text, logged in user username. We can format this, so we can change the color. We can set the alignment to center. We can make the font bigger and we can change the weight of the font. So, and if we now go to preview, which is the button up here in the upper right corner, that will show us how our app would look in a virtual smartphone. Let's have a look. Welcome back, Stefan. There it is. So it pulled my username directly from the database. You can, by the way, change what kind of current popular phone model you want and see how it looks on different devices. This is an approximation, by the way. It's not 100% exact. All right. Next up, click actions, no actions. So should somebody click on that text field or tap on it, nothing would happen at the moment. We can change that by adding an action. Also a very important menu. You can either link to one of the existing screens or just say link to new screen and then create the screen as you go. Also a website if you want to. You could create a new user or a new collection. You could update the logged in user, which is what you would do most often. You could delete the logged in user, trigger notifications, or make custom actions with APIs. For now, let's say update logged in user. And what that allows you to do is update the values of any property that is currently in the collection. So standard user collection has email, password, username, full name. By default, I always change that to first name, as you know. And you could update that also using magic text. And you can make this action also conditional. So you could say it doesn't happen always, but sometimes. Only if, I don't know, logged in user is equal to something or other. So conditional actions also very powerful. Edit styles allows you to affix an element to the top or bottom of the screen. So doesn't change its position when you scroll or add more elements. You can make the size of the element you can more precisely determine the size of the element. You can decide, in case of a text element, should it be single line or multi-line? Should users be able to copy the text? You can change the opacity, and you can set the width to auto. What you can change within edit styles differs greatly from component to component, so it's always worth a look to see what you can change in there. Alright, so that's it for the text component for now. If I now click just into the screen and I keep my finger on the left mouse button and I try to move the screen, I cannot. I only get the selection rectangle. Could select the element again, but I want to move the screen. How do I do that? Simple, you just click on the name of the screen here in the upper left corner. You can see the yellow frame appearing around the screen. If I now click on it and stay on the mouse button, I can move around the screen. And you can also very clearly see now those arrows that show links between screens. If you don't want to see them, you can always go to settings, display settings, display screen connections, and can turn it off here, but I find it quite useful, so I will leave it on. When I click on the name of the screen, you can also see that a menu opens for the whole screen, not for a single component. I can change the name of the screen and I can determine what kind of screen it is. The home screen is the first screen a logged in user sees. The welcome screen is the first screen a user that is not logged in sees, and normal screen are all the screens beside that. It's also very important, if you make your own sign up and login and home screens, that you choose the right one there, or else it will not work as intended. You can make a list, make a group, and delete the screen. You can name the screen, as I've already told you. You will see a list of all the components on the screen. At the moment, there is only the app bar up here and the text element, and I can rearrange them. That can be important because Adalo renders elements on the screen from the bottom to the top, meaning in the order that they appear on here. So if you want something to render first, make sure that it is on the bottom of the list here. You can add components if you want to. And you can also add actions to the screen itself, which is another very useful feature. So you could make it so that certain values get created or changed or updated when a user visits a screen. The user does not have to do anything or even be aware of it happening. That can come in very handy. Available data shows you what kind of data is being sent to the screen, so to speak. In our case, none. In order to send data to a screen, you have to link from a list of a collection to said screen. This is a bit more involved. We're going to look at that in detail in a tutorial in the future. Let's just keep in mind that if there is no special connection to a list, the only data available to you will be the one from the user's collection. Edit styles allows us to change the background color if we so desire. I don't want that. We can choose a background image, and we can choose how it should be cropped. If we want the horizontal position centered left or right and the vertical position the same. And we could also now, while it is selected and you see those 4 yellow circles in the corners, that means that I can also change the size of the screen here, which is something that you might want to do if you have a lot of components that you want to arrange from top to bottom. Just drag it out so that you can do it as you wish. And that's it from screens in Adalo for now. In the next tutorial we'll take a look at the app bar and the tab bar. See you then.